North Carolina is a hotbed for mushroom diversity. Whether you look at the high mountains around Mount Mitchell, all the way down to the coastal plain, you get a lot of different forest communities. And in those forest communities, you get an incredible diversity of mushrooms. So whether you're looking at a pasture or a lawn or a golf course, or whether you're looking at deep, dark conifer woodlands on the high mountains, or whether you're looking at the piney oak savannas of the sort of eastern coastal plain, there's different fungal communities associated with all those habitats. Hi, my name's Todd Elliott, and I'm a naturalist, an ecologist, a biologist, and particularly I like to work on fungi, which makes me a mycologist. And I'm interested in how mushrooms and other organisms interact in the natural world around us. And I've been blessed to be able to travel to many parts of the world and be able to study these complex and amazing organisms and how they interrelate to the natural systems around them. For the purposes of this video, we've harvested lots of mushrooms to be able to show you some of the diversity. But as eco-explorers, we would like you to be able to go out and take pictures of mushrooms and just study them naturally in their environment. So these mushrooms right here are some of my favorite. These are three different species of chanterelles. And chanterelles are an important edible mushroom, but they're also really important in the ecosystem. They tie in with trees' roots and they connect in with the trees and help them be able to uptake various nutrients like water and nitrogen and phosphorus and things like that. Also, some of my earliest memories were riding on my father's shoulders in the southern Appalachians and picking these mushrooms. Growing up in the southeastern US, in western North Carolina, I was deeply connected with the natural world around me. I gradually learned and got interested in the different organisms that I grew up among, whether it was plants and whether it was animals or mushrooms or insects. And one thing to another led me to get more interested in different groups. And when I was a young teenager, I encountered a truffle. And that truffle led me to write to one expert who then connected me with another expert. And next thing I knew, I was being able to connect with these different mycologists around the world, which then gave me the opportunities to travel widely, study mushrooms and how they interact in ecosystems. My passion and interest in the natural world has led me to be able to travel to 6 different continents and study all different types of organisms, but particularly mushrooms and how they interact with the ecosystems around them. I've been able to meet lots of different people and study in lots of different systems through this. Most recently, I was working in Australia. And in Australia, I was interested to try to understand how animals, particularly birds, reptiles, and mammals, eat mushrooms and then disperse them through the landscape. And then these mushrooms are really important for tying in with the tree's roots. So through this kind of study, I was able to travel to all different parts of Australia. So these are coral mushrooms, and there's lots of different types of coral mushrooms, and you can sort of guess why they got that name, because they look a little like coral, something you'd see under the ocean. But many of them are actually decomposers. So you see all this thick white rhizomes at the bottom. They're kind of like mushroom roots. And these spread into the organic litter and spread through the forest soils, and they're decomposing nutrients. And they're taking those nutrients and then they're making them accessible for lots of other organisms. And when you think about it, if these mushrooms weren't decomposing all of the built up of leaves and wood that happens, it would just pile up. And none of those nutrients would get cycled back through the forests. So mushrooms are vital both for being symbionts with plants, but also for being decomposers of a lot of this organic matter. I would like for mushrooms to be more widely recognized for their important roles they play in the environment. They're both important as decomposers, as symbionts, as parasites. They're important for food, they're important for medicine. They have wide-reaching importance in both the ecosystem but also to humans. And I feel like if people slow down and learn to appreciate the mushrooms, it'll also allow you to be able to appreciate larger aspects of the ecosystem. And once people get a deeper appreciation of things, that can lead to better conservation efforts, and people are more invested in the forests and the ecosystems around them. For those of you kids out there looking for opportunities to get out in the woods, I think mushrooms are a great gateway to understanding the outdoors. Because look at this diversity in front of us. They're incredibly diverse organisms, they're beautiful, they're ecologically important, they have all sorts of roles in the ecosystem. And once you learn about mushrooms, you can then learn how they tie in with plants, how they tie in with birds, how they tie in with mammals or reptiles or insects. And they're sort of the great connectors. They interconnect the forest communities, and they can be interconnecting between humans as well. So this is a type of mushroom in a group that are called cordyceps, and they actually only grow on insects that they kill. So see, this is growing on a wasp or a hornet. See here? There's the hornet's abdomen, and there's the head with the eyes, and look, coming out of its chest is this cordyceps, and it was growing up out of a rotting log where the hornet had gone to die, and there it is. These mushrooms are called puffballs, or the French are supposedly call them pételus, which means wolf farts, because watch, puff, puff, puff. So these mushrooms are called lactarius, and lactarius because they lactate, they produce milk. And watch, when I cut this, see that white milk that comes bubbling to the surface? Look at that. And there's different colors of milk. So that one milks white, see it dripping onto the table there? This one milks blue. See it on my knife tip there? And see it coming out on the surface? Bright blue milk. And then that milk will eventually become greenish. So see, this one's a little older, and see how it has green? So this lactarius is called lactarius indigo because it makes indigo colored milk. And this one's called lactarius voluminous because it makes volumes of milk. Many mushrooms have their what's called mycelium, which is like the fungal roots that grow down into the soil or inorganic matter. In this case, it's in a mulch. And look at all of this white, what's called mycelium. And it's spreading out there. There can be hundreds of miles of it under the area covered by your boot print. And this spreads out through the soil, breaking down nutrients. It also connects in with trees' roots and helps them get their nutrients. It's called the Wood Wide Web, the mycelial network.